For as long as we've been making samples, our fans have been requesting one library in particular. One request has always sounded louder than any other. Please make a dedicated string library with the ProjectSAM sound. We've always found it an enticing idea, and an ambitious one too. The string section is arguably the most challenging one to sample. We have, of course, recorded strings for many of our libraries. The ensembles and effects in Symphobia 1, the low string sections in Pandora, the jazzy violins in Swing More. There's even some strings to be found in Animator. But it's true that we've never done dedicated strings with full articulations for all 5 sections. Until now. With the launch of the Lineage series, we began redefining what a modern orchestral library could be. We set out to record a world-class collection of string samples and redesign the way they respond, so that they truly serve you, the composer. After 2 years of very hard work here at the ProjectSAM office in beautiful downtown Utrecht, our home base since the very beginning, we believe we've got something really special. My name is Maarten, and I'm very excited to show you Lineage Strings. Recorded in the Broadcasting Music Center in Hilversum, the Netherlands. The same gorgeous space as we used for Lineage Percussion and the Symphobia series, Lineage Strings sounds warm and lush, with a distinctly European sound, the ProjectSAM sound. Captured by our own trusted team and with many familiar faces among the players, Lineage Strings is a perfect match with any of our other libraries. Lineage Strings features a 35-player string ensemble, the ideal size for the library's intelligent musical features, as you'll see later on. It's a perfect balance for achieving both more intimate as well as more powerful arrangements. The 5 string sections were recorded separately, each with a detailed set of articulations available that can be selected traditionally using key switches or the interface, but that are also smartly utilized under the hood. All this and the multi-mic setup that you've come to expect from us. Beautifully sounding close, stage and ambient mics, as well as a pre-mixed mic set. In this video, I'm going to guide you through all Lineage Strings has got to offer, from the sound of the individual sections and the unique smart Lookahead features, to my favorite part of the library, the arranger. Lineage Strings has 2 main modes, shown in the top menu bar here, Live Mode and Lookahead Mode. Live Mode offers low latency playing for recording live parts, as the name suggests. Lookahead Mode, on the other hand, enables a set of features that enhances things across the board. Legato lines will sound more natural, fast runs more authentic, and note endings more realistic. Let me play back this sequence that I recorded earlier. Lineage Strings is set to Lookahead Mode, so the engine will pull out all the stops. Note that I'm not using any key switching or controllers here. Without any automation or key switching, you can hear various things happening. A natural sounding run at the start, staccatos being used in various places, a grace note over here, and a nice little ornament over here. These articulation changes are powered by adaptive phrasing, which is enabled by Lookahead Mode. More on this feature in the next chapter. Now, this already sounds pretty good, but of course it could use some dynamic movement. So let's play it back again, this time with automation added for both dynamics and vibrato intensity, and some pizzicatos in the basses. Now, Lookahead Mode adds a 250 millisecond delay to work its magic. This means that in order to keep our notes on the grid in our DAW, we need to set a minus 250 millisecond pre-delay on our track. Here you see how to do this in Logic, in Cubase, and in Fender Studio. Now, of course, this pre-delay can't be applied in real time when you record a part. Lineage Strings does not have a crystal ball. However, difficult parts can be a little tricky to record with the delay. So what I recommend is to temporarily switch to live mode to record a part, then switch back to Lookahead mode as soon as you're done. If your track is set to the correct pre-delay, next time you play back, everything will align correctly, without having to nudge around any sequences. To make switching these modes a little easier, you can also do this via key switches at the very top of the keyboard, the F#8 and G8 keys. Let me record a part in live mode, then play it back in Lookahead mode. As you can hear, the moment I turn Lookahead mode on, my sequence very much comes to life. So, having obviously worked with Lineage Strings for many months, I can tell you that you do get used to also recording parts in Lookahead mode. It's a little like being the conductor, swinging just ahead of the beat. One of the most exciting features that becomes available in Lookahead mode is the automatic switching between articulations. For Pandora and Lineage Percussion, we created adaptive sync. With Lineage Strings, we're introducing adaptive phrasing, applying the same time-saving adaptive concept to articulations. In Lookahead mode, adaptive phrasing can be toggled from the same menu bar using the AP icon at the top here. When adaptive phrasing is on, the same icon is displayed in the articulation tiles over here. This tells you which articulation utilizes this feature. Right now, I have the long notes tile selected with adaptive phrasing off. Now it will do just that, play long notes. With AP on, however, it will look at my note lengths and pick the best fitting articulation by using any of the other tiles. For each of the tiles showing the adaptive phrasing icon, we looked for the most intuitive way to respond to note lengths. If I'm on the short notes tile, then playing actual short notes will trigger the selected variation on the right here. But holding a note down will trigger a longer tenuto articulation, and this allows you to phrase things quite musically. I'm going to load up one of the music demos we wrote for Lineage Strings and look at the intro, which starts like this. The violas play a rhythmical pattern that uses adaptive phrasing in a clever way. The pattern uses both tremolos and staccatos. As you can see, it's the tremolo tile that is selected. Without adaptive phrasing, this means it would play tremolos only, like this. With adaptive phrasing turned on, however, all of my shorter notes will be played as staccatos and staccatissимos instead, using note lengths only to create more natural phrasing, like this. Now, of course, you could program these articulation switches yourself using key switches, and Lineage Strings allows you to do just that, of course. But just as adaptive sync does in Pandora and Lineage Percussion, adaptive phrasing saves you time. It also helps you focus more on the notes instead of all the editing. We find that we actually use both. To switch to articulations that adaptive phrasing has no way of detecting, such as pizzicato, we use key switches. For normal arco phrasing, we try to let adaptive phrasing do all the work and just stick to the long note style. Legato sounds best in Lookahead mode, as the 250 millisecond buffer gives it useful musical information to work with and more time to perform smooth crossfades. But legato does of course work well in live mode too, adding only a small delay to your playing for the note-to-note transition. In live mode, legato sounds a bit more instant, direct, than in Lookahead mode. Generally speaking, we recommend using Lookahead mode where you can. Not only does it give you a smooth legato performance, it also allows you to play fast, realistic runs. The legato icon in the top menu bar offers you 3 modes. Right now I'm in Monophonic legato mode, which is the easiest legato mode to perform. I can also turn off legato entirely, which means I can play polyphonic parts in a more traditional way, sustains. And then, last but not least, there's the polyphonic legato mode. This mode activates our voice tracking engine, which uses the Lookahead buffer to track and assign each note to a unique voice. And this gives you full polyphonic legato, with realistic transitions between all your notes. Voice tracking now brings us to my favorite part of Lineage Strings, the arranger. The arranger lives in a separate preset. It's an instrument on its own, and as you can see, it features its own graphical interface as well, representing the orchestral seating of the strings. The arranger automatically distributes notes across the 5 string sections, and it's where all of the library's features work hand in hand: polyphonic legato, voice tracking, chord detection, and adaptive phrasing. It's a powerful and almost magical tool to play chords and accompaniments. Let me show you. Now, why is it important to distribute notes? Well, Lineage Strings features a 35-player string ensemble. When you play chords, you don't want to end up hearing more than 35 players at the same time. The issue is that this does easily happen with a traditional ensemble instrument. Since the range of each string section overlaps at least a little bit, there are many notes on the keyboard that trigger 2 or 3 or even 4 string sections, and this results in a chord that sounds like it was played by 70 or 105 or 140 players. Of course, this could be an artistic choice, but for a realistic sounding performance, with more room for the subtleties of the individual players, the total number of audible string players should not exceed the size of the ensemble. Hence the arranger. And by individually assigning each note to a section, a lot of additional tricks are possible as well. This is the default preset when loading the arranger. It's called low range, and it's a great example of one of the unique features of the arranger, the ability for a string section to follow the root of a chord. You can tell by the voicing control set up over here. I can do chord changes, play different inversions, and the arranger will assign the root to the celli and the basses. I can also overwrite the detected root note by playing bass notes myself. The arranger will now detect slash chords. As you can see, the other three sections are currently set to the automatic voicing. And this too is a unique feature of the arranger in Lineage Strings. It lets our engine decide which notes to assign to which section. And it does this in an extremely flexible way, taking into account what other voicings have been selected, how many notes are being played, and which notes have already been assigned in a different way. It's a very powerful voicing option if you just want to play chords, perhaps of varying size, and not think about the details too much. If you do want to customize the arrangement more, then there is an extensive list of voicing options available for each section. For example, I could set the cellos to play the top note, and the violas to play the note below that, leaving the violin set to automatic. You will see that the arranger will first assign my custom voicings, top, middle, root, and only then make a plan for the violins. Two other arranger options that are available for each section are an octave control, transposing the section up or down, as well as an added octave option. You can see all these controls in action by going through the different presets the arranger has to offer. We also included the exactly as played preset for you, which does just that. It distributes the notes exactly as you play them, without any special changes. You can see that none of these controls are now in use, and that the voicing is set to automatic for all sections. Last but not least, the arranger allows you to save your own presets. After making any changes, you can provide a name and a description here, and save the preset as your own. You can then find it in the browser, right next to the factory presets. And the cool thing is, these have been saved to disk, so they're available even when loading a fresh instance of the arranger in a new project. So that's the Lineage Strings arranger. It's an incredibly musical tool to write for strings, both for quick sketches as well as a proper accompaniment in your final track. And it's definitely a part of Lineage Strings that we plan to expand on in future updates. Let's take a look at the microphone sets found in Lineage Strings. Recorded in the same gorgeous concert hall as Lineage Percussion and the Symphobia series, Lineage Strings offers three beautiful mic sets: close, stage, and ambient, as well as an out-of-the-box pre-mixed mic set. Let's play back the same piece of music using each of the mic sets, starting with the pre-mixed mic set. Now for the close mic. The stage mic. And the ambient mic. As you can hear, each mic set has its own unique sound and therefore use case, from detailed and direct to warm and distant. From the user interface, you can of course create your own mic mix. Personally, I really love the deep sound of the stage and ambient mics mixed together. You can also set your default mic mix, which will then be loaded for each new instrument. More on these global settings later. For each of the types of instruments in the library, we offer a full mics version as well as a single mic version for each of the mic sets. If you know that you will stick to a specific single mic, say the stage mic, we recommend loading the single mic instrument, as they not only use less RAM, they also load significantly faster. Let's look at some of the smaller, but nevertheless pretty cool and useful features that Lineage Strings has to offer. Starting with precision control. Lineage Strings allows you to adjust the precision of all sample starts in the library. If I set the precision control to very loose, then the full originally captured attack is used. And this gives you a very human, natural feel. A certain degree of sloppiness is allowed, if you will. On the other end of the spectrum, I can set Lineage Strings to give me a very tight performance, with the sample starting right at the vital point of the attack. This, of course, gives you a more direct, on-grid sound. The looser the precision setting, the more time a sample takes to reach the peak of the attack, and this creates a small delay. The cool thing is that this delay is compensated for in Lookahead mode. Lookahead mode is aware of the extra delay and will offset the notes slightly so that musically the attack is exactly on the beat. Another cool musical feature is the automatic vibrato option. Lineage Strings allows you to control the vibrato intensity of the long notes articulation using CC, but in addition, it can also control the vibrato for you. Using velocity, your host tempo, and your note phrasing, it will musically ride the vibrato controller. As soon as I touch the assigned vibrato controller myself, automatic vibrato will temporarily disable itself. For Lineage Strings, we recorded down and up bowing performances for all relevant articulations. The bowing control feature allows you to set the bowing direction. By default, down and up bowing is alternated for individual notes. Legato phrases are played in a single bow. Now, what the bowing control allows me to do is temporarily overwrite the bowing direction. By default, the bowing control is assigned to key switches. If I press the bottom key switch, then my next note will be a down bow. If I press the top key switch, my next note will be an up bow. If I hold one of the bowing key switches, then all notes will be forced to use that bowing direction until I release the key switch again. Now, with professional string players, the difference in sound between down and up bowing is quite subtle. However, the difference is definitely there, and by using the bowing control properly, you will get a more realistic performance, especially with faster patterns. So we've looked at the individual string sections, as well as the arranger, which brings all 5 sections together as a smart ensemble. Lineage Strings offers another type of ensemble called the builder. And this instrument is like a sandbox environment. You can design your own string ensemble, your own multi, tweaking things like transposition, mapping, velocity thresholds, per string section and articulation. Right now, the builder is in its default state, which means all sections are playing in their complete range. Here at the top, we have the 5 string sections available, and I can switch between them to change their settings, similar to the kits in Lineage Percussion. First, I'm going to unload violins 1 and 2, which we don't need, and this will save me some RAM. I do this by command clicking them, or control click on Windows. Next, I'm going to change the color of the viola keys so that I can identify them a little bit better. Now let's drag the viola using the Lineage Strings piano, so not Contact's piano, and align them with the cellos. Cool trick, if I drag while holding down Shift, it snaps to octaves. I want to do the same for the basses, in the opposite direction. Let's select them and drag them to where the violas and cellos start. Cool. Now for the minor triad. This can be done in the mapping view using the note stacker. For the cellos, I will have a perfect fifth added to my notes. And for the violas, a minor third. There. Let's try it out. There you go. Now, there is much more that I can do in the builder. For example, I can adjust the playable range of each section, or set velocity thresholds so that a specific section only plays between specific velocities. And I can, of course, mix and match articulations. By default, articulations as well as mics are linked between the string sections, but if I unlink them, like this, I can, for example, have the basses play pizzicatos instead of staccatos. So that's a brief overview of the builder. We invite you to create some ensembles, and if you end up with something really cool, feel free to share it with us. We might just include it in the very next update. Keep in mind that the builder is a relatively large Kontakt instrument. So if you know you're going to stick with a specific mic, we recommend using the single mic version, which will load faster and use fewer resources. Next up, settings. Now, this may sound like a bit of a boring thing to cover in this video, but there are actually a lot of handy tools and personalization options here. All settings for the entire library are available in one convenient place, here, in the top left drop-down. We sorted all settings into a number of groups so that you can quickly find what you're looking for. All settings regarding legato, for example, are grouped here, including some expert settings to tweak the legato engine further. All interface options are grouped here, with toggles for animation and tooltips, and all key switches and controllers can be customized from this settings group. Now, what's cool is that all settings that are labeled default are library-wide. For example, say I set the vibrato controller to aftertouch. This is now the default for all new instruments from this point forward. And this won't mess with any existing projects, of course. Those will remain untouched. Speaking of default settings, another unique feature of Lineage Strings is the Get Started screen. The very first time you load an instrument, whether it's a single instrument or the arranger, you will be greeted by this screen. In 4 or 5 steps, Get Started takes you through the most important features of Lineage Strings and allows you to set them to your preferences. On the Smart Lookahead page, for example, you can compare the differences between live mode and Lookahead mode, and you can actually try out the difference by playing on the keyboard. Same on the adaptive phrasing page. We briefly explain this new feature and allow you to compare having adaptive phrasing turned on or off. The remaining pages walk you through the rest of the library's most important features and allow you to set your user preferences. And these will then be your new defaults for all new instruments that you load, which is super useful. For Lineage Strings, we have spent a lot of time on the experience of our blind and visually impaired users. The library supports both NKS 1 and NKS 2 standards, allowing you access to pretty much every single feature and parameter through a keyboard-like complete control. All labels and values have clear descriptions that work perfectly with the NI Accessibility Helper app. The PDF manual included with Lineage Strings has been designed to be fully compatible with screen readers and has a full listing of all NKS controls, as well as all key switch positions. I hope I've been able to give you a fun and useful walkthrough of Lineage Strings, the second installment in our next generation Lineage series. Creating the library has been a journey for us, and we're proud to finally share the end result with you. Of course, we've had to make a selection of which features to include in this video. There is a lot more to unpack here, so we will be back with more videos and more demos. But for now, I would like to thank you for watching, and I wish you happy composing.